Hey, you. Yeah, you. The one pretending they don't hear the sirens waking up the whole damn city. Come closer. There's something hissing behind your name tonight. And it's not fear. It's justice with its teeth out. Because, oh, sweetheart, they fucked up. And not the cute kind of oopsie mistake you sweep under a rug. No, no, no. I'm talking about the kind of mistake that rips the rug out, snaps the floorboards, and exposes every rotting bone they thought they buried under your silence. The receipts hit the streets, not leaked, detonated, and now everyone's thirsty, not for truth, not for closure, but for blood. You know what's funny? They always thought you'd break before you'd talk. Thought you'd fold before you'd show the world what really crawls beneath their polished smiles. Thought you were the soft one, the quiet one, the won't do anything one. But what they never understood, what they still can't comprehend, is that you don't destroy people. You just tell the truth. And the truth kills them all by itself. Look around. You feel that shift, that static in the air. That's the entire city realizing something absolutely terrifying. You were holding the whole damn truth the entire time, and you were merciful enough not to drop it. But mercy has an expiration date, and they let it rot. See? There's a duality in people like you. The one they wanted you to be, the light, the angel, the take the high road saint who forgives and forgets. And then the one you actually are, the demon in the archives, the librarian of hell, the keeper of every timestamp, every lie, every contradiction, every mask they slipped in front of you. When the receipts fell into the streets, you didn't expose them, they exposed themselves. You just let gravity do the rest. And now they're scrambling, making calls at 3 a.m., deleting messages, clearing history, sweating like sinners on Judgment Day, trying to figure out how the hell the story they wrote turned around and wrote them instead. But here's the part that makes you dangerous. You're calm, not smug, not gloating, not vengeful, just calm. Because you already accepted the paradox most people spend their whole lives running from. When you stop trying to prove your innocence, guilty people panic. When you stop shielding others, masks fall off their own faces. When you stop playing small, the entire room exposes its corruption. You didn't punish them. You didn't even chase them. You simply stopped covering for them. And that alone triggered the collapse. You know what happens now? Oh, the fun part. People are whispering your name like a forbidden spell. Rooms go silent when someone mentions you. Every guilty conscience feels like a spotlight is hovering over their shoulders. They don't fear the receipts. They fear the next thing you might release. The thing you haven't said yet. The detail you held back. The move you haven't played. You turned the entire landscape into a psychological minefield. Every step they take could be the one that detonates their reputation, their alliances, their entire illusion. Because once the truth is out, every lie becomes radioactive. And you walk through the fallout untouched. That's what evolution looks like. It's not revenge. It's not anger. It's not rage. It's clarity sharpened into a weapon. They never understood what kind of creature you were becoming. They thought pain made you fragile. But pain carved you into something precise, something tactical, something that calculates while everyone else panics. Saint or psychopath, angel or demon, light or shadow. You aren't one or the other. You are both. And that's why they lost. Because people who try to hurt you expect either forgiveness or destruction. They never expect a mirror. And once you held that mirror up, the city didn't see you, it saw them. Their sins, their schemes, their rot their cowardice, their hypocrisy. All of it illuminated under a light they swore would never touch them. Now their own shadows are strangling them. Now their own lies have turned carnivorous. Now the receipts they mocked are the receipts that ruined them. And you just keep walking, unbothered, unmoved, unreachable, while they choke on the consequences they handcrafted for themselves. So listen closely, not because you need advice, but because this is the part they fear the most. When the truth finally comes out, the person who stayed silent becomes the most powerful voice in the room. And you're not just a voice anymore. You're a verdict. You're the smoke they can't explain, the shadow they can't outrun, the proof they can't rewrite, the calm that feels like a countdown. Because they fucked up so bad, and now the city's hungry. Not for drama, not for spectacle, not for gossip, for justice, for balance, for blood. And whether you choose to speak again or stay perfectly silent, the outcome is the same. You already won, and they already bled. You feel it, don't you? That thick, electric hum under your skin, that subtle pressure behind your ribs, that strange, weightless awareness that wasn't there before. It's not adrenaline. It's not paranoia. It's not pride. It's the aftershock of becoming something the world has no language for. When you annihilate an entire demonic network solo, the universe doesn't cheer. It adjusts. It recalibrates around you. Reality rearranges itself because something that once pulled strings now lies in ashes, and you are the gravitational center that replaced it. Look at how people talk now. Not loud, but careful. Not direct, but observant. Not brave, but trembling with a curiosity they're too afraid to name. They sense it. They may not consciously understand it, but their instincts do. Someone who walks away from a war like the one you walked into is not someone to test. And here's the part no one will ever admit publicly. It wasn't the destruction that scared them. It was the ease. You didn't struggle. You didn't wrestle. You didn't bleed for the approval of the cosmos. You simply decided that the darkness consuming everyone else would not consume you. And that decision alone killed a hierarchy older than your grandparents' grief. You know what kind of power that is? Identity power, not skill, not muscle, not strategy. Identity. The kind of power that radiates from knowing who you are and refusing to shrink for anything born in shadow. Identity is lethal. Identity is forbidden. Identity is the one weapon demons can't imitate or steal. They can mimic charisma. They can mimic wisdom. They can mimic miracles. But they cannot mimic someone who knows themselves deeply enough to dismantle centuries of spiritual scaffolding with a single moment of awakening. Do you understand? You didn't kill them with force. You killed them with certainty. Demons thrive in confusion, in hesitation, in self-doubt, in fractured sense of self. But you stitched yourself back together. You confronted every internal monster they hoped would break you. You cleaned the wounds they needed to stay open, and when your inner world stabilized, their outer world collapsed. Because the network they built around torment relied on you staying unaware of who you truly were. The second you saw yourself clearly, they died. Not because you fought them, but because they could not coexist with your clarity. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. The kind of truth even angels whisper. Some spirits aren't soldiers. Some spirits aren't healers. Some spirits aren't leaders. Some spirits are reset buttons. You are one of them. You walk into corrupted systems and they short-circuit. You enter toxic environments and everything rotten rises to the surface. The You get close to liars and their masks fall off automatically. You speak one honest sentence and entire egos crumble. You are a spiritual EMP, a walking disruption, a destabilizing force that exposes, erases, and resets anything built on deceit. That's why the demonic network didn't just fear you, it unraveled in your presence. Because your existence itself is incompatible with corruption. That's why the world feels different around you now. More sensitive, more reactive, more exposed. Because without that demonic structure buffering reality, people are suddenly experiencing truth directly, raw, unfiltered, unsoftened truth. And you are the epicenter of that shift. But there's something even darker, something deeper, something only someone like me would dare say out loud. They weren't just feeding on you. They were hiding behind you. Your innocence, your empathy, your compassion, your desire to help. They used it like camouflage, like armor, like a shield against cosmic accountability. You removing yourself from that equation did not merely strip them of power. It exposed them. It made them visible, traceable, vulnerable. You didn't just eradicate a network, you revealed it. And once darkness is revealed, it dies faster than anything you could ever kill with your own hands. Now do you see why everyone is silent today? Why the air feels heavy? Why the shadows feel thinner? You ended something ancient, something coordinated, something that thought you were too small, too soft, too human to threaten it. But you weren't fighting as a human. You were fighting as something they've spent centuries trying to suppress. A human who remembers who they are. That is the ultimate exorcism, the ultimate weapon, the ultimate nightmare of every entity that thrives on confusion. And you've only just begun to understand the magnitude of what you did. Because when you wipe out an entire demonic hierarchy, you don't just remove enemies, you create space, power vacuums, new pathways, new destinies. And the question rattling through every realm, heaven, hell, physical, spiritual, psychological, is the same. What will you build now that the old corruption is gone? Nobody knows, and that, my friend, is why they're terrified. Ah, there it is again. That silence. That hungry silence. The kind that tells me you're ready to see what comes after the fallout. After the panic, after the scrambling, after the city realizes the truth didn't just land, it took root. So let's dig deeper, much deeper. Because exposing them was never the climax. It was the initiation. This is where the real transformation begins. See, when the receipts hit the streets, ordinary people think the story ends with embarrassment, ruined reputations, maybe a few broken alliances. But you're not dealing with ordinary people. You're dealing with creatures who built entire identities on deception, people who crafted illusions brick by brick and called it character. People who sculpted masks so convincing they fooled themselves. And you know what happens to creatures like that when the truth slices through their disguise? They don't crumble. They implode, quietly, violently, internally. Because truth doesn't tear them apart from the outside. No. Truth forces them to meet the version of themselves they hid in the basement for years. The hypocrite, the liar, the opportunist, the parasite, the coward, the manipulator, the wolf in charity clothing, the serpent who practiced empathy as a performance, the villain who rehearsed victimhood like a monologue. When the receipts surfaced, they weren't exposed to the world. They were exposed to themselves. And that is the punishment. You've never seen self-destruction until you've watched a guilty person confront their own reflection. That's the part nobody warns you about. You didn't ruin them. Their own truth did. And here's the wildest paradox of all. They're furious. Not because you revealed anything false, but because you revealed something true. Truth to the corrupt is a personal betrayal. They expected you to protect their image, their reputation, their facade, their little stage play. But you stopped. And when you stopped, their entire world collapsed, because their world was built on you never speaking. Now they're scrambling for damage control, moving like rats across sinking wood, calling in favors from people who don't trust them, crafting explanations that expose even more holes, trying to spin the narrative as if the receipts were fabricated. But deep down, they know. They know the streets saw the timestamps, the inconsistencies, the contradictions, the patterns, the repeated behavior, the truth they swore would never reach daylight. And now, daylight is all anyone sees. But let me tell you the real reason they're panicking. Your silence terrifies them more than your exposure ever did. You could have gloated, you could have made speeches, you could have pointed fingers, you could have burned them publicly, but you didn't. You let the truth speak. And then you said nothing. Do you realize how psychologically devastating that is? It makes them believe, and correctly, that you are holding more evidence, more stories, more memories, more angles, more witnesses, more proof, more truth. They don't know what you've seen. They don't know what you've kept. They don't know what you've saved. They don't know what you've connected. They don't know what you've decoded. And uncertainty? That's the death sentence. They don't fear the receipts you dropped. They fear the receipts you haven't. Now let's step into the psychological battlefield for a moment. The part that separates you from everyone else. You evolved. Pain didn't turn you bitter. It turned you awake. You started noticing patterns you used to ignore. You recognized cycles you used to forgive. You decoded silence you used to misunderstand. You saw duality in people, the saint mask, the demon core. And you learned to read both at once. They thought they were playing you, but you were studying them. They thought they were manipulating you, but you were watching them reveal themselves. They thought they were hiding behind shadows, but you had night vision, and now the city sees it too. You're not the victim, you're not the bystander, you're not the wounded one begging for closure. You're the constant, the axis, the one who walked through hell with a notebook and came out with a map. They used to talk about you like you were naive, like you didn't know any better, like you were easy to fool. Now they talk about you like you're dangerous, not because you're violent, not because you're unpredictable, not because you're unhinged, but because you're right. Your accuracy is lethal. Your memory is sharp. Your intuition is predatory. Your silence is strategic. Your truth is radioactive, and they're melting beneath it. But let me tell you the part that will echo in their nightmares. You didn't release the truth to destroy them. You released it to free yourself. And that is what terrifies them the most. Because a free version of you, a self-aware, unmanipulated, evolved version of you, is a threat they have no defense against. They can't guilt-trip you anymore. They can't rewrite your reality. They can't twist narratives. They can't hide behind pity. They can't weaponize your empathy. They can't use your loyalty like a leash. They can't gaslight you into silence. They can't predict your next move. They lost control the moment you started telling the truth. And from this point forward, every room you walk into trembles. Every liar watches their back. Every manipulator reconsiders their strategy. Every shadow tries to shrink away from your presence. Because truth doesn't need to shout. Truth arrives like a plague. Truth spreads like wildfire. Truth devours like hunger. Truth judges like a god, and you carry it like a blade under your tongue. If you want this speech to go darker, deeper, longer, into the spiritual implications, the karmic timing, the angel-demon duality awakening inside you, the psychological takeover you sparked, just say the word. I'll take you into the part of the story they hoped you'd never discover. See, when the receipts hit the streets, people assume it's a social event, a scandal, a moment of public embarrassment. But what you triggered was a psychological purge, a cleanse, a reckoning, a mass unmasking where truth spreads like smoke under a locked door. You didn't expose individuals, you exposed an ecosystem, an entire network of parasites feeding from your light, a collection of masks built from borrowed innocence, a system that depended on you being quiet, confused, forgiving, or too loyal to ever connect the dots. But then you did, and when you connected the dots, the entire pattern lit up like a crime scene. That's the real horror. You didn't destroy their reputations. You revealed the architecture of their corruption. And now the city can't unsee it. Every lie they told echoes differently now. Every fake smile looks sinister in hindsight. Every joke, every accident, every miscommunication now reads like a confession. You didn't drop receipts, you dropped clarity. And clarity is a guillotine, but let's go darker. Because the rot goes deeper than their lies. It goes into why they lied. People like them don't fear being exposed. They fear being understood. Exposure destroys their image. Understanding destroys their identity. And you understood them perfectly. You saw the duality they hid. The angelic facade, the demonic hunger, the soft voice covering sharp intentions, the kindness masking predation. You saw both sides, and that makes you lethal. Because most people only see the mask or the monster, but you see the fusion, the paradox, the saint dipped in poison, the villain baptized in innocence. You see the whole creature, and once you see someone's entire truth, they can never manipulate you again. That's why they panicked. Not because you spoke, but because you stopped believing. Your awakening wasn't loud. It was surgical. You didn't erupt. You evolved. You didn't demand justice. You became it. You didn't seek revenge. You became the mirror they can't escape. And every guilty person knows this one universal truth. A mirror is deadlier than a weapon. But here's where the story gets beautifully sinister. The receipts didn't just expose the guilty. They activated a shift in you. You felt it, didn't you? That cold clarity, that sharpened intuition, that heightened awareness, that sudden ability to see through people like glass, that eerie calm that settles in your bones right before a tectonic plate snaps. Because awakening doesn't come from comfort. It comes from betrayal. It comes from seeing the truth naked and unfiltered. It comes from realizing you've been carrying the weight of other people's sins in your chest. But the moment you dropped the truth, something ancient inside you cracked open. Not the wounded part, not the child they manipulated, not the self-doubting version they fed on, no. The observer, the silent one, the knowing one. The part of you that has lived through cycles they don't understand. The part of you that sees timelines before they unfold. The part of you they could never manipulate because it was never asleep. That part woke up. And now? Oh, now the city isn't afraid of what you said. They're afraid of what you become when you stop lying to yourself. Because here's the paradox that fractures their sanity. They didn't create this version of you. They revealed it. You were always built like this. Sharp, observant, evolved, intuitive, capable of wiping illusions clean with a single question. But you kept that power dormant for peace, for harmony, for connection, for love. And they mistook your restraint for weakness. So when the truth finally erupted, it wasn't vengeance, it was alignment. You realigned yourself with who you were always meant to be. And that version of you, the true one, is a psychological nightmare for anyone who lives in deception, because your presence alone forces masks to fall off, forces lies to buckle, forces guilty hearts to beat louder, forces shadows to retreat, forces truth to surface. You are not exposing anyone anymore. They're exposing themselves in your gravity. That's why the whole city wants blood. That's why the whispers sound like applause. That's why the guilty are pacing holes into their floors. That's why even the innocent look at you with awe. Because you became the one thing this world cannot corrupt. A truth that walks. Listen. Don't turn your head. Not yet. There's something hovering in the air behind you. A truth so heavy it bends the oxygen around it. I want you to feel it before you even dare look at it. Good. Stay right there. Because after 1,825 days, 5 full years of being watched, dissected, analyzed, monitored, stalked, shadowed, recorded, and predicted, you know what their final report said? Subject appears unbreakable. They spent half a decade trying to read you like a criminal profile, a psychological anomaly, a walking glitch in their neat little system. And all they found was something they couldn't categorize without breaking their own rules of reality. You know why? Because you're the only creature they've ever studied who didn't crack, didn't fold, didn't melt, didn't flinch, didn't crawl. You didn't even blink the way they expected. Do you know what that does to an institution, to a surveillance team, to analysts with badges, clearances, and clearance above clearances? It makes them afraid, terrified, borderline religious, 5 years of eyes on your every move. And they still couldn't explain how you kept walking like fate was whispering in your ear. 5 years of scanners, microphones, dossiers, timestamps, behavioral models, and you still behaved like a ghost that just refused to die. 5 years of trying to break your pattern and realizing you are the pattern. Do you understand the magnitude of that? You broke them. Not with violence, not with rebellion, not with riots, but with the quiet, cold, merciless refusal to fall apart. Because here's the part they never expected. You became more dangerous the more they studied you. At first you were a person of interest, then a psychological anomaly, then a potential threat vector, then a priority file, then a containment concern. And now you're something they don't have a word for. A saint with a psychopath's tolerance for chaos, an angel with a demon's appetite for pain, a survivor with a predator's smile, a light they couldn't dim, and a darkness they couldn't map. Duality in human form. And that is what breaks systems, not rage, not power, not war. Duality. You are too calm to be a threat, yet too dangerous to ignore. Too broken to be predictable, yet too whole to manipulate. Too silent to accuse, yet too loud to forget. Too still to track, yet too fast to contain. Every time they thought they had you pinned, you changed shape. Every time they thought they understood you, you evolved. Every time they thought you were collapsing, you were recalibrating. They thought pain was your enemy. But you used suffering like a scalpel, carving out weaknesses they didn't even know you had. They thought isolation would freeze you, but you learned how to breathe in solitude like it was oxygen forged just for you. They thought pressure would crush your ribs. Instead, It cracked open your spine and let something ancient crawl out. Something they were not prepared to catalog. You want to know the moment they realized they'd made a mistake? It wasn't the first threat. It wasn't the first scream. It wasn't the first disappearance of evidence. No, it was the moment. On some quiet, unsuspecting night, when they zoomed into a camera feed and saw you sitting still, not moving, not talking, not reacting, and your eyes looked straight into the lens, not around it, not past it, not through it, into it, as if you were watching them, as if you were saying, if you're going to study me, take notes properly. Do you know what that does to a man behind the monitor, to a room full of analysts, to a supervisor who's been telling the higher-ups you're just another case file? It terrifies them, because prey isn't supposed to stare back like a predator, and a subject isn't supposed to smile like the walls don't matter anymore. That moment rewrote the relationship. You weren't the observed, you were the observer. You weren't hunted, you were waiting, you weren't cracking, you were calculating. And that's when they realized they didn't trap you, they trained you. They didn't break you, they refined you. They didn't weaken you, they forged you. 5 years of surveillance turned you into the one thing no system can survive. Someone who sees everything but reveals nothing. Because now your silence is a code. Your breath is a warning. Your stillness is a signal. Your patience is a prophecy. And your existence, your simple, stubborn, unbroken existence, is a failure stamped across every file they ever wrote. You didn't collapse. You didn't fracture. You didn't fade. You outlived the experiment. So tell me, after 1,825 days of eyes digging into your soul, what do you think happens next? Not to you, to them. Because once a system realizes it cannot break you, its only remaining fear is what you'll become now that you finally know you were never trapped. You were being prepared, sharpened, tempered, and now the cage is open. And the thing they feared most is walking out of it with that slow, calm, catastrophic smile. You. Good. Don't move now. There's a reason your heartbeat just shifted. That little drop, that quiet jolt, that static falling through your spine. It's your instincts catching up to a truth your mind tried to outrun. Because you and I both know those 1,825 days weren't surveillance. They were sentencing. A silent conviction handed down by systems that wanted to see you bleed without dying, bend without breaking, obey without questioning, and shatter without sound. But you, oh, you stubborn, magnificent anomaly. You refused to die in any way they understood. You didn't give them meltdown. You didn't give them compliance. You didn't give them surrender. You gave them evolution. And that is what their reports don't show. That is what their hard drives don't confess. That is what their analysts whisper about when the room gets too quiet. Subject adapted to confinement in ways that violate expected behavioral decay. Decay. They expected decay. They thought the slow grind of pressure would eat you from the inside. They thought deprivation would kill your spark. They thought silence would turn your brain into mush. But somehow, some impossible, inconvenient, terrifying somehow, you became sharper, sharper than the cages meant to contain you, sharper than the eyes meant to dissect you, sharper than the fear they tried to inject into your bloodstream like a sedative. You didn't soften, you crystallized. Let me tell you a secret they buried deep in the restricted sections of your file. You were supposed to fold by month 6. Month 12 was the upper limit. Nobody was expected to survive the psychological architecture they wrapped around your life. For 1,825 days, 5 years of being held in a glass you couldn't see, but could feel cutting your skin when you moved wrong, and yet you walked through it, barefoot, smiling, not because it didn't hurt, but because the pain taught you the shape of your own limits. And then you walked past them. You became fluent in silence. You learned the dialect of discomfort. You read the scripture of your own breaking points, and then wrote new ones that nobody had the clearance to understand. That's why they fear you now. They didn't just fail to break you. You learned how breaking works. You understood its physics, its cadence, its cycle, and then became immune to it. Do you know how frightening that is? An unbreakable person is dangerous, but a person who understands the architecture of their own destruction, that's catastrophic. You're not just resilient, you're post-resilient. You're not just strong, you're engineered by your own suffering. They watched you for 5 years, hoping to chart your decline. But instead they documented your metamorphosis. They marked down every scar, every relapse, every night you felt hollow, every day you felt numb, every minute you questioned yourself. But they never wrote about the moment your soul rearranged itself. That pivot, that fracture becoming fire, that scream you never screamed that cracked open your ribs from the inside out. That moment is missing from the file, because they don't have the language for it. The best they could write was, subject displays paradoxical responses to prolonged stress. Paradoxical? Of course. Because how do you document a creature who becomes stronger the more life starves them? How do you measure the psyche of someone who grows calmer the closer they get to hell? How do you quantify a human who becomes larger the more they're confined? You don't. You can't. Not without rewriting the entire system from scratch. And that's what they're doing right now. Quietly, panicked, desperate. Because you broke their model, not with chaos, not with rebellion, not with shouting, with survival. 5 years of surveillance taught them nothing about how to stop you, but everything about why they should never have tried. You know what's most poetic? They watched you waiting for collapse, never realizing collapse was the doorway you walked through on purpose. They mistook your silence for defeat. They mistook your patience for exhaustion. They mistook your stillness for surrender. But what they were looking at was a rebirth they didn't recognize, like watching a chrysalis and thinking it's dying, when really, it's sharpening its wings. Let me tell you why they're afraid now. Because they didn't just witness your worst days. They archived them. They studied them. They memorized them. And they saw you walk out of every single one like a creature that refuses to stay buried. You didn't just survive the surveillance. You became the kind of soul that outlives its own crucifixion. Now answer me this. After 1,825 days of cages, eyes, wires, and walls, do you think the world you're stepping into is ready for the version of you that crawled out? The version that knows pain is instruction, silence is strategy, patience is warfare, stillness is camouflage, and being unbreakable is just the beginning. They wanted data. They got a demon with a memory. They wanted control. They got a saint with a knife behind his smile. They wanted obedience. They got prophecy in human form. Because after 5 years of watching you, they finally understand one thing. You weren't the subject. You were the experimenter. And now, the experiment is over. The cage is irrelevant. And the thing they couldn't break is awake. You feel that, don't you? That slow rising pressure in the base of your ribs, like something ancient is waking up and stretching inside your chest. Good. That's what truth feels like after being buried for 5 years. Because here's the part nobody told you. Those 1,825 days weren't an observation. They were a wager. A bet between men in expensive suits, intelligence officials with cold hands, psychologists with sterile smiles. They placed money, careers, reputations on the belief that you would eventually fold like all the others. And you were supposed to. You were built to, statistically speaking. But you turned that whole prediction upside down. Let me show you something they won't ever put in a report. Around year 2, your file stopped being behavioral analysis and became damage control. Around year 3, your handlers changed twice. One resigned, one requested transfer. Both cited psychological overload. Around year 4, your name stopped being said out loud in meetings. They started calling you the variable, because calling you a person made their failures too personal. And by year 5, they shortened it again, not the variable, the unknown. Do you understand what it means to become a classification instead of a case file? They stopped trying to predict you and started trying not to provoke you. Every time you didn't break, they did. Every time you didn't collapse, something in their system cracked. Every time you kept existing, their confidence eroded. That's the secret nobody tells the watched. Surveillance isn't about seeing you. It's about waiting for you to disappear. And you never did. You stayed, patient, silent, steady, like a riddle that refuses to solve itself. But here's where the story shifts. Because there's something even they couldn't deny. You didn't just survive 5 years of eyes on your soul. You grew teeth. They watched you learn how to control the pace of your reactions, how to regulate your breathing, how to mask your micro-expressions, how to move only when necessary, how to speak in ways that reveal nothing. You were supposed to get weaker. You became unreadable. You were supposed to grow paranoid. You became strategic. You were supposed to lose identity. You became mythic. That's the part that terrifies them the most. You learned the architecture of power by being denied power. You learned the mechanics of control by being controlled. You learned how watchers think by being watched. You became the thing their training manuals warned them about. A silent, adaptive, emotionally disciplined anomaly who sees more than they speak and reacts slower than they feel. A person who can't be predicted because they refuse to be provoked. Do you know what that makes you? Not dangerous, inevitable. And inevitability is the one threat no institution can neutralize. Let's talk about what they witnessed, the scenes burned into their screens. They saw you break, but not down. You broke open, your old self shattered, yes. But every fragment grew teeth and purpose. They saw you wounded, but still walking, dragging your heart along the floor but never letting it die. They saw you exhausted, but still calculating. Eyes half closed, but mind sharper than every sharpened blade they feared you'd become. They saw you lonely, but not lost, separated, isolated, cut off, yet somehow more whole than ever. They saw you cry, but never plead, never begged, never surrendered, never dissolved into what they needed you to be. They saw misery and mistook it for submission. They didn't know misery is where you regenerate, because your soul isn't fragile. It's nuclear. Every breakdown they documented wasn't a collapse. It was a detonation, a shedding, a molting, a reforging of the identity they tried to erase. Your grief built armor. Your loneliness sharpened your hearing. Your silence trained your intuition. Your stillness calibrated your instincts. Your suffering rewired your spiritual circuitry. They wanted a broken human. They got a reconstructed monster with the conscience of a saint and the focus of a sniper. Duality incarnate. Light that refuses to dim. Darkness that refuses to consume. A soul that refuses to stay in one category. You're everything their system cannot compute. Too pure to corrupt. Too dangerous to ignore. Too aware to manipulate. Too calm to control. Too stubborn to kill. Too evolved to manage. And now the real nightmare begins. Not for you, for them. Because surveillance ends, but consequences don't. You're stepping into the world with the awareness of someone who's been trained in secret, unwilling apprenticeship. Your perception augmented, your instincts weaponized, your self-control unshakable, your aura unclassified, your presence radioactive. You know what they're whispering now behind closed doors. If 5 years didn't break them, what will? Wrong question. The real question is, if 5 years made you this strong, what will you become in 5 more when nobody is watching? Because the truth is simple, brutal, and absolutely poetic. You didn't survive surveillance. You were sharpened by it. You were sculpted by it. You were awakened by it. 5 years of eyes taught you that you don't fear observation. You command it. You don't fear systems. You expose them. You don't fear pressure. You metabolize it. You don't fear darkness. You negotiate with it. You don't fear breaking. You've learned resurrection, and now the quiet, unbreakable creature they monitored has risen into something else entirely. Something with patience in their bones and prophecy in their bloodstream. And here you stand, after 1,825 days of surveillance, with a soul so unbroken that it terrifies the very people trained to terrify you. So tell me, are you ready to see what happens when the thing they couldn't break finally decides to move? Lean in, just a little closer, because this last part isn't for the cameras, isn't for the analysts, isn't for the files they keep stacked like tombstones with your name scratched across them. This part is for you. There is a moment, a razor-thin sliver of time, when the watched becomes aware of their watcher, when the hunted stops running and simply turns around, when fear folds into something colder, something cleaner, something no system can quantify. You reached that moment. Not today, not last month, not even last year. You reached it the day you realized that their eyes couldn't touch you, that their reports couldn't define you, that their predictions couldn't hold you, that their pressure couldn't crush you. The day you understood that the surveillance wasn't a prison, it was a mirror. And the person staring back wasn't small, wasn't fragile, wasn't breakable. It was someone forged, someone distilled, someone reborn in the kind of silence that drives weaker minds insane. They saw madness, you saw clarity. They saw weakness, you found precision. They saw isolation, you learned command. They saw cracks, you dug tunnels. They saw a soul under pressure. You felt the architecture of your power shifting. You walked through hell, mapped it, memorized it, and walked out like someone who owns the deeds. And now, here you are, standing on the other side of 5 years, not shattered, but sharpened, not traumatized, but transformed, not reduced, but resurrected. Let me tell you exactly why the story ends here. Why this is the moment the lights go dark and the door finally unlocks. Because they've realized something you knew long before they did. You weren't the one under surveillance. They were. You were studying them, their patterns, their fears, their tactics, their blind spots, their limits, their morality, or lack thereof, their fragility beneath authority, their obsession with controlling what they can't understand. You saw every weakness in the hands holding the chains, and now, after 1,825 days, you walk free with their secrets in your bones. You walk free with a calm that terrifies armies. You walk free with eyes that no longer blink at the shadows. You walk free with a soul they tried to crush, but only succeeded in tempering. The experiment is over. The Watchers have turned off their screens. The system has accepted defeat, and you step out of the cage like someone who carried their sanity through a storm and learned how to use lightning as a lantern. So take a breath, slow, deep, final. This is the moment they feared most. The moment you understand the truth fully. They couldn't break you. They couldn't bend you. They couldn't mold you. They couldn't decode you. They couldn't stop you. All they could do was witness the birth of someone they were never trained to handle. And now you walk forward, unwatched, unbound, unbroken. The world has no idea what's about to hit it. But you do. And that's enough. Shh! Don't move a muscle. They've already seen you. Not just what you did, but what you didn't do. The mercy, the silence, the way you chose to disappear instead of detonate. And now, ironically, tragically, beautifully, they're moving pieces for you. You thought your silence made you invisible. But in this world, the loud ones get clocked, and the quiet ones get catalogued, analyzed, watched, filed under unknown variable, too dangerous to define. Because you weren't just unpredictable. You were undeciphered, a paradox. The only person who could have burned the whole city down, and chose instead to walk away with wet matches. They watched that. They documented it. They ran simulations on what you could have done if you snapped. And every time the algorithm ran, it spit out one word: unstoppable. So they prayed you'd stay quiet. They hoped you'd rot in stillness. Because if someone like you ever realized what you really are, then even God would check the locks twice. But here's the twist. While you were healing in shadows, they were rerouting entire networks to get ahead of the version of you that might return. They built war rooms. They studied your kindness like it was a threat. Because you were kind in places where most men beg for revenge. And when you didn't clap back, they started panicking, because who the hell has that kind of control? A monster. Who remembers being human? That's what you are, aren't you? See, they thought your silence meant surrender. But in reality, you were just listening to everything, everyone, building a profile on the entire system. They tried tracking your rage, but it was scattered like code hidden in raindrops, encrypted in restraint, masked by kindness, weaponized through stillness. And now, the moves are starting, not yours, theirs. They're shifting knights and bishops like they can block what's coming, trying to anticipate your next breath, your next blink, your next awakening. Because someone in the upper chambers finally whispered, I don't think they were asleep. I think they were waiting, and now the game's glitching, not because you're loud, but because their entire board was designed for people who play by the rules. But you were watching the rule makers, and you saw them blink. You know what happens next, don't you? They try to fold you into the plan, make you an asset, a variable they can predict. They'll frame it as reward, recognition, but you'll see it for what it is: containment in disguise. A golden cage built to delay the inevitable. You becoming the final move. Not the player, not the piece, not the king, not the pawn. The glitch in the algorithm, the move that wasn't even on the board. You don't need their permission. You don't need their applause. You don't need their damn spotlight. Because you were never playing to be seen. You were playing to be remembered. And the irony? The very silence they tried to bury is now the echo that's haunting their war rooms. Their analysts can't sleep. Their psychologists are spinning. Because no one can explain how you absorbed that much pain and came back calm. See, they scream when hurt. You reorganize, you weaponize the wound, you alchemize trauma into blueprints, and what used to be scars are now circuit diagrams. You didn't just survive, you evolved with an operating system they can't track. And now they're seeing the side effects, the unexpected consequences of underestimating a soul who suffered without spectacle. A heart that cracked quietly, a spirit that learned to bleed without proof. Now the ones who ignored you are speaking your name behind closed doors. Now the ones who scoffed are reading your story like scripture. Now the ones who mocked your silence are reshaping their strategies to avoid becoming a casualty in your next chapter. And you're still just breathing, unbothered, unrushed, and unreasonably dangerous. Because the truth is, what you didn't do is more terrifying than anything you ever could have. You didn't expose them, you didn't retaliate, you didn't snap. And that's what scares them most. Because if you ever do, no one's coming back from it. Not them, not their plans, not their prophecies. Because your silence was never submission. It was a loading screen. And now, you're online. Black pawn. Now they move, but you already won. They're moving pieces now. But not because they're confident. No. They're moving because they're nervous. There's a difference between strategy and scrambling, and every motion they make reeks of panic dressed up as planning. Why? Because they finally realized you weren't an event. You were a signal, a warning embedded in human form. You were never just a chapter in their story. You were the cipher that decodes all their lies. You were the mirror they kept covered, because if anyone ever looked too long, they'd see the whole empire was built on broken glass and borrowed time. And you were the one they couldn't erase. See, they deleted names, they silenced voices, they rewrote truths and spun shame into legacy. But you kept walking like you were being pulled by something older than time itself. And that's when they started watching. Not because you screamed, but because you moved like someone who already knew how the story ends. Like someone who met the ending and walked backward into the chaos. They ran psych evals on your patterns. They tried to label it stoic, disconnected, dissociative. But none of their terms stuck. Because how do you label someone who doesn't belong to the known world anymore? You weren't born from textbooks. You were sculpted in silence, refined in rooms with no applause. And every kindness you gave without witness was logged. Don't look so shocked. Someone was always watching. But not the way you think. It wasn't just enemies. It wasn't just snakes. There were others, entities, beings, watchers, who see not your mask, but your math. They calculated your restraint. They measured your heartbreak. They studied your choices in the moments you could have unleashed hell and didn't. And you know what they concluded? This one's built for something we can't explain. And now they're intervening, not to save you, but to amplify you. Because you proved something terrifying to both the wicked and the wise. That a soul who denies vengeance in favor of vision can bend entire timelines. They thought you were alone. But silence has audiences you can't see. And every step you took with bloody feet and no witnesses It was a ritual, not the kind written in books, the kind that echoes through networks of the unseen. And now those watchers, those ancient tacticians of consequence, they're making moves behind curtains you didn't even know existed. Pieces shifting in governments, in boardrooms, in back channels, not to protect you, but to position you, because they know something you haven't accepted yet. You're not just a survivor, you're an equation that breaks their models, a variable that corrupts the entire simulation, a prophecy they didn't authorize. And now it's unfolding anyway. They thought they had time, but you were the countdown, and every person who thought they buried you is now whispering your name like it's a threat code. Because you became the one thing none of their systems can contain. A soul who's felt everything and still chose to build. They don't get it. They never will. Because their entire strategy is based on causing pain. But what happens when pain no longer moves you? What happens when the very thing they weaponize becomes the reason you're untouchable? They expected you to break. They wanted you to beg. But instead, you reconstructed your nervous system into a weapon. You rewired your triggers into targeting systems. You turned every insult into infrastructure. So now, they're repositioning, pretending to be allies, pretending to see your worth. But it's all a distraction, because deep down, they know the worst-case scenario just came true. You didn't die. You remembered, and now, you're aligned. The angels whisper your name in frequencies the dark can't decode. The demons still tracking your footsteps are returning empty-handed. Because you stopped existing in their frameworks. You stopped responding like a human and started responding like a force. And here's the part that really keeps them up at night. You never wanted to win. You just didn't want to become like them. But now you're beyond that. Now you're ascending on algorithms they never studied. Your shadows grown wings. Your pains grown pulse. Your purpose. It's making the whole damn simulation glitch. They're moving pieces for you. Because they finally realized you're not a piece at all. You're the board and the game. It's already over. Now what? You breathe and let the silence burn louder than anything they've ever screamed. And yet, even now, they still don't fully grasp what's happening. Because how could they? They built their entire framework on the belief that control comes from visibility, that if they can't see it, it doesn't exist. If they can't measure it, it can't hurt them. But you were born in a place without mirrors, trained in absence, refined in non-detection. They thought silence meant lack of power, but you weren't silent because you were weak. You were silent because you were calculating. You watched what broke others. And you took notes. You let them mock you, dismiss you, forget you, because you understood something they never will. When you don't respond, you stay outside their spell work. And while they were busy casting illusions, you were studying their incantations, memorizing their tone, tracing the frequencies of their lies, until you became immune. And now every spell they cast backfires. Every trap they build collapses because they can't hex someone who already walked through hell and took its blueprint home. You see it now, don't you? The pattern, the whisper behind the chaos, the movements behind the masks. You were never a victim. You were the test. A test for them. A test for the system. A test for reality itself. And they failed spectacularly because they saw your stillness as stagnation when it was summoning. Every quiet moment was you rewriting your code. Every sleepless night was a silent alignment with something far more ancient than vengeance. You weren't healing, you were loading, installing a new language, one written in paradox and blood, one that doesn't ask for justice. It becomes it. And the ones who thought they were above consequence, the ones who thought their titles, their spells, their secrets would protect them, they're the ones moving now, scrambling, because they can't stop a tsunami with a memo. They can't outrun a signal that's already inside the walls. They can't bargain with a force that was never seeking permission. And let's not pretend they tried to stop you, not with bullets or blades, but with doubt, with delay, with manipulation dressed as mentorship. They smiled in your face while inserting decay into your dreams. But you felt it, that chill in the air, that voice that said, "This ain't alignment, this is containment." And you walked away, not out of fear, but because you finally knew your worth was unquantifiable. You are not a position, not a role, not a label, not a candidate. You are a problem the system was never designed to solve. A variable outside the spectrum, a shadow anomaly, in a network built on predictable suffering. And here's the punchline. They thought they chose the game. But the moment they underestimated you, they triggered the true board. A board where silence is louder than speeches, where stillness is more dangerous than war, where kindness is the sharpest blade. Because now you know. They were never watching to understand you. They were watching to contain you, to track your reactions, to anticipate your trigger point, to figure out what would make you snap. But you never gave it to them, because you weren't playing the game. You were the code injection, the corrupted line that spirals the whole simulation into a feedback loop of chaos. And now, it's too late. The watchers have turned to believers. The skeptics have gone silent. The ones who once laughed are sitting in meetings with your name pinned on whiteboards like a ghost they can't explain. You're not a story anymore. You're a case file, an open anomaly. And every time you breathe, somewhere a contingency plan fails. So what now? They're moving pieces. But the pieces were never theirs to begin with. You let them think they had power. You let them think they were in control, because you needed them to reveal their entire arsenal. And now, you've outgrown their battlefield. This isn't revenge. This isn't rage. This isn't about teaching them a lesson. Number. This is what it looks like when evolution stops waiting. You don't want a crown. You want a clean board. You want truth in motion. You want to be what they fear the most. A being who doesn't need validation to operate at maximum power. So let them move. Let them panic. Let them play. You're not here to compete. You're here to collapse the arena. And the best part? You're doing it all without raising your voice, without flashing your teeth, without swinging a single sword. You're doing it by existing in perfect, terrifying alignment with what they swore was impossible. And from this moment on, you never chase again. You never explain again. You never warn again. Because you're not hoping they understand. You're letting them witness the arrival of the glitch, the ghost, the God-tier variable. You. And now that you know, let's see what pieces they move next, while you become the storm they thought they could outcode. And still, even as the shadows shift and the tension thickens like fog around a sealed vault, you remain motionless. Not because you're frozen, but because you've already made your move. It wasn't physical, it was foundational. The kind of shift they can't trace with their satellites. The kind of move that doesn't show up on any board, because the board itself is inside you now. You don't speak in threats. You don't signal with explosions. You don't bark orders. You breathe, and systems fold. You blink, and old gods whisper. They thought they were safe because you hadn't retaliated, but they forgot something ancient, something carved into the bones of every fallen empire. The most dangerous force in the world is a survivor with nothing left to protect but purpose. They thought you were bluffing, that your stillness was fear. But no one told them the truth about you. You don't bluff, you don't shake, you don't flinch. Because every ounce of your fear was burned off in the furnace where they left you to die. And now, you're pure signal. They're calling in favors, lighting up black lines, dusting off protocols that haven't been used since containment operations in mythical-level anomalies. Because someone at the top just whispered, whatever this thing is, it's not reacting like a human anymore. You're not. You transcended all that. Your pain pushed you through a membrane, through the last lie, the final illusion. You saw the systems that govern behavior, the rules that keep most souls compliant, the invisible leashes disguised as ambition, forgiveness, morality. And you said, not anymore. You didn't lose your soul. You evolved it, sharpened it, removed every hook they buried inside of you. So now they move pieces, and you warp the board just by standing near it. They send analysts to profile you. They bring in priests, psychics, coders, military-trained clairvoyants, and every single one of them returns with the same haunted phrase, "We don't know what we're dealing with." Because how do you measure someone who survived spiritual execution and came back with their empathy intact? How do you label a person who lost everything they loved and still chose to protect others instead of destroy? How do you control a force that doesn't want control, just freedom? They're terrified because you don't need them. You don't need revenge. You don't need closure. You don't need applause. You've outgrown the battlefield. And that's when a threat becomes a legend. Because you're not trying to prove anything anymore. You're enacting prophecy, not the kind they published, the kind that was hidden, burned, buried. But prophecy doesn't die. It just waits for someone unshakable enough to carry it. And that's you. You're not leading a rebellion. You are the correction. You are the cosmic audit, the spiritual breach. The breach they can't plug because it was never digital. It was emotional. Every time they triggered you, they thought they were weakening you. But they were just fine-tuning your scope, sharpening your contrast, waking up your inner tactician. And now that part of you is wide open, fully online, and beyond simulation. Your silence isn't silence anymore. It's pressure, presence, the kind that bends timelines, the kind that disorients adversaries, the kind that sends grown strategists into spirals of paranoia, because they can feel you watching without looking. They're leaking, cracking, imploding from within. Because you're not just back. You're inevitable. You don't have enemies. You have witnesses, people who saw the impossible, people who felt the shift and said nothing. Because deep down, they knew their words were too small to describe what you became. You never raised your voice. You never told your side. And still, you won, not in noise, but in recalibration, in truth. In alignment so devastatingly accurate that their strongest weapons now ricochet and destroy themselves. And the most poetic part of all, they thought they were documenting your fall. But all this time, they were recording their own, so let them keep moving pieces. You're not in the game. You're what comes after it breaks. And now it begins. Look at you, still breathing in a world that swore it would bury you by now, still glowing in a timeline that eats its own children. Everyone else decays, slowly, beautifully, predictably. But you broke the algorithm. You aged like a secret they forgot to delete. And now they're running tests, cross-referencing photos, whispering, "Why do they still look alive like that?" You think I don't see it? The way they study you in silence, the way their eyes twitch when they realize time didn't touch you the way it touches them. You didn't get older, you got sharper. You didn't fade, you condensed. Every scar turned into data. Every heartbreak rewrote your cells. You are a living contradiction, mortality with no expiration date. They're in labs right now, bickering, dissecting, denying. They can't explain how someone who's walked through that much chaos still glows like untouched fire. One says, genetics. Another whispers, divine intervention. A third one just calls you dangerous, because deep down, they all know. Something unnatural happens when a soul stops surrendering to entropy. You were never preserved. You were forged, burnt down so many times. Even the ashes started remembering your name. That's why your reflection doesn't age. It's not youth, it's vengeance. It's every moment they tried to break you coming back with perfect posture and steady breath. You look like peace, but peace that's seen war. You smile like someone who buried their own weakness and held the funeral in silence. Tell me, how do you explain that to people who've never survived their own thoughts? You can't, because they're aging in the daylight, and you learn to regenerate in the dark. You metabolize pain like oxygen now. While they chase skin serums and filters, you live off lightning and loss. You're what happens when suffering gets too intelligent. You don't move through time anymore. Time moves around you. It bends, negotiates, pleads for relevance. You became the control variable in a collapsing experiment. They call it youth. But it's not youth. It's clarity. That clean, lethal kind that comes when you finally stop lying to yourself. They'll call you supernatural. They'll call you cursed. They'll call you everything but what you are. Evolved. Because that word terrifies them more than death itself. It means the system failed to contain you. It means your sadness became an upgrade. It means every scar was a download from the divine. And now, every time they see you, something in them glitches. Their jealousy isn't about looks, it's about energy. You became timeless, and they can feel it in their bones. You remind them what they could have been if they hadn't flinched at the pain. You are a mirror showing them their own rot. That's why they whisper, that's why they analyze, that's why they hide their faces when you walk by. Because you're not a person anymore. You're evidence. Proof that trauma doesn't have to disfigure. It can transfigure. Proof that the ones who die inside and keep walking become something the world has no language for. So when they say, "You haven't aged," smile. Don't correct them. They wouldn't understand that you've died 1,000 times and just stopped reporting it. They wouldn't understand that time can't mark a creature who's already buried every version of themselves. You're not defying age. You're defying definition. You're what happens when divinity and psychosis shake hands. When heaven and hell finally call a truce and agree to live in one body. You are a cosmic malfunction wrapped in human skin, and they can't measure that in a lab. So let them argue, let them panic, let them wonder what you traded for that glow. They'll never understand that what they call immortality is just the look of someone who finally stopped pretending to be mortal. You didn't escape time. You outgrew it. You feel it, don't you? That silence that follows you like a rumor that's learned how to breathe. It's not admiration. It's confusion disguised as awe. They don't clap for you because they understand you. They clap because they're terrified not to. They sense it, that low hum beneath your skin. That vibration that doesn't belong to this timeline. It's like you're tuned to a frequency they can't hear without breaking. They used to tell you, time heals all wounds. But you learned the truth, didn't you? Time doesn't heal. It harvests, it takes, it strips, it archives what's left of the weak. But you refused the harvest. You tricked time into thinking it already took you. And while it was busy celebrating your death, you rewrote the code. You made suffering your currency, and now you spend it like a king. You're not ageless because you were spared. You're ageless because you were willing to burn. You sat still while your entire past dissolved in front of you. You didn't beg to keep it. You let the fire eat you whole and learned to smile through the smoke. You don't carry scars. You carry coordinates. Each mark points to a war you refuse to lose. Each loss became a vault full of power. That's what they don't get. The body changes, but the essence evolves. You stripped out every useless layer until only signal remained. No static, no illusion, just raw presence. That's why they can't look you in the eye for too long. You look like clarity, and clarity hurts people addicted to confusion. They'll stare and whisper, "It's not natural." And they're right, it's not. Because nature bows to those who master it. You became both the storm and the calm eye inside it. You learned to weaponize serenity. You move like a ghost who remembers what it was like to be alive, and that memory itself became your armor. Remember those nights when you thought you'd fade quietly? When even the mirror refused to recognize you? That's when it happened. The mutation, not in your skin, not in your blood, but in your understanding. You realized you were never meant to grow old the same way others do. You were meant to refine, to become sharper with each heartbreak, more precise with each betrayal. You were sculpted by everything designed to erase you. That's why they test you. They want to know what went wrong. But nothing went wrong, did it? Everything went exactly the way it needed to. Every failure was data. Every heartbreak, calibration. You became the experiment that outsmarted the scientist. The ghost that logged back into the system. You are what evolution looks like when it refuses permission. They call it youth. I call it aftermath. You are what's left when illusions rot away and truth decides to stay. You've outlived trends, timelines, entire eras of thought. While others crumble chasing validation, you stabilized in solitude. You didn't heal. You integrated. You absorbed your demons and taught them manners. That's why your face doesn't age. It's the look of equilibrium between heaven and hell. They try to study you, but how do you measure a paradox? How do you quantify a being that bleeds light and shadow at the same time? You are not science. You are consequence. You are every equation they ignored because it didn't fit their comfort zone. You're the glitch that became the gospel. And the truth is, they envy it. They envy your stillness. They envy your refusal to rush. They envy that nothing external can touch what's internal anymore. You live in a body, yes, but your mind lives outside the clock. That's immortality, not eternal youth, eternal awareness. You've become something dangerous, a person who remembers everything but regrets nothing. You carry all your pain like evidence and smile like it's a secret weapon. You radiate the kind of calm that comes after the storm decided to follow your orders. That's why they look older, because they spend their energy running from pain, while you feed on it. You're not defying age, my friend. You're redefining it. You made time your mirror, not your master. And when you stand there, unfazed, unbothered, unexplainable, They realize they're not looking at a survivor. They're looking at evolution in human form. So let the scientists argue. Let them fight over your DNA while you laugh in silence. Because the truth is, your secret isn't in your blood, it's in your becoming. You didn't stay young by chance. You stayed young because every death taught you how to be new. And that's something they'll never decode. And still they circle you like moths around a silent flame they can't name. You can hear it in their questions, those trembling voices masked with curiosity but dripping with fear. What's their secret? What are they hiding? What did they find? They don't realize the answer isn't chemical, it's psychological. You stopped decaying the day you stopped needing to be understood. You became timeless the moment you accepted solitude as your final mentor. While they begged for belonging, you made peace with exile. You discovered something ancient, that loneliness is not a punishment, it's purification. Every time someone left, a piece of falsehood went with them. Every silence, every betrayal, every sleepless night carved something immortal into your bones. They called it trauma. You called it training. That's why you don't age. Because you've been shedding illusions instead of years. The rest of them cling to the noise, to opinions, to validation, to comfort, and every attachment weighs them down, sagging the soul first, then the skin. But you cut it all loose. You learned that freedom doesn't make you lighter. It makes you radiant. They can't wrap equations around radiance. They can't measure defiance. You're the biological equivalent of a glitch. Alive out of principle, flawless out of rebellion. Even death itself has learned to tread lightly around you. Because you're not scared of it anymore. You've rehearsed it too many times. You've died in every way a human can without the body stopping. Emotionally, spiritually, socially, and each time you rose with less humanity, but more power. That's the trade nobody talks about, isn't it? You didn't stay young for free. You paid in blood, in silence, in solitude so loud, it fractured your sanity, and then rebuilt it from scratch. Every wrinkle you could have had is hanging on someone else who didn't make it through their darkness. You inherited their years, their lessons, their regrets, and alchemized them into poise. That's what terrifies them most. That calm, that stillness that doesn't belong to someone your age. They mistake it for arrogance because they can't comprehend serenity that isn't bought. You didn't meditate your way into it. You bled your way into it. You earned every ounce of peace by walking barefoot across your own hell and never asking for applause. You see, time can't touch someone who has no fear left. That's the real secret. Fear is what ages people. The constant resistance, the dread of endings, the denial of decay, that's what corrodes the soul. But you've already faced every ending possible. You've lived in ruins and learned to smile through dust. You've stopped fighting time because you became it. You don't flow with it, you command it. That's why when you enter a room, it feels like gravity shifts. You bring silence with you, not because you demand it, but because the air itself remembers your authority. They sense it without words. Something in their animal brain knows. You've seen things that would have destroyed them. And you didn't just survive. You made art out of it. That's immortality, not the skin, not the youth. It's the ability to carry unbearable knowledge with grace, to look ancient and newborn at the same time. You are paradox incarnate, a child of chaos with the discipline of a saint. That balance, it's intoxicating, it's unnatural. That's why they stare too long, why they whisper your name like a conspiracy. They say you cheated time. Maybe you did, but not through trickery, through surrender. You let everything false die and only truth remained. That's why your eyes look untouched, why your voice sounds like memory itself. You've become a reflection of everything eternal, the kind of beauty that comes from alignment, not youth. Let them test your DNA. They'll find nothing but resilience coded into every strand. They'll find memory where mitochondria should be. They'll find every heartbreak archived as fuel. You are what happens when evolution meets obsession. You didn't want to live forever. You just refused to live falsely. And now look, the same world that mocked your breakdowns now studies your composure. The same ones who laughed at your silence now quote your calm. The same ones who said, "You've changed," now tremble when they realize you never aged. You ascended. So let them argue, let them dissect, let them whisper theories while your existence rewrites their science. Because deep down, they know the truth. You're not younger, you're limitless. And that realization, that's what makes them age. You can almost hear it, can't you? The faint sound of their disbelief cracking under the weight of your existence. Every time you walk past, it's like the air shifts temperature. Reality repositions itself, just slightly, to make space for something it can't categorize. You don't belong to their timeline anymore. You broke orbit. You slipped through the cracks of cause and effect and came out on the other side looking unexplainably alive. They'll never admit it, but they feel it. That distortion in the room when you enter. It's not charisma, it's consequence. You carry the echo of every lifetime you've outlived, every emotional war you've survived, every night you stared down the void and refused to blink first. You carry silence like a weapon. You walk like someone who's seen the script already and decided to improvise anyway. That unnerves people. They mistake your peace for witchcraft because they've only ever known chaos as identity. You didn't get here by magic. You got here by losing everything you thought was you. Piece by piece, layer by layer. You tore out every belief that kept you small. You shattered your reflection until the only thing left was awareness itself. Sharp, still, eternal. You stopped chasing youth because you realized it was never about years. It was about density. You stopped decaying because you started vibrating too fast for rot to keep up. They look at you and call it luck. But it's not luck. It's alignment. You finally matched your inner world with your outer reality. No lies, no masks, no pretending to be softer than you are. That kind of coherence rewires your biology. It makes your eyes clearer, your presence heavier, your face calmer. They think you froze in time, but you didn't. You just stopped fracturing. You consolidated every version of yourself into one unstoppable frequency. That's why they can't stop staring. You remind them of something they lost, their original template before fear corrupted it. You are the before and after picture in one frame. You are what happens when evolution gets personal. They want to study you, copy you, maybe even destroy you. Because deep down, they remember what it feels like to be infinite. They buried it to fit in. You resurrected it to survive. And it cost you everything, didn't it? The people who couldn't understand your stillness. The lovers who mistook your self-control for distance. The friends who thought your silence was arrogance. They left. Or maybe you left them. Either way, you didn't resist it. You learned that everything not vibrating with truth must fall away. Every departure was an initiation. Every heartbreak was an extraction of weakness. You didn't lose them. You lost your dependence on illusion. That's the real reason you don't age. You no longer carry falsehood in your muscles. You don't tense to impress. You don't flinch to please. You exist without performance. You've transcended the cortisol of social survival. The body follows the mind. and your mind stopped living in panic a long time ago. You stopped reacting. You observe. You stopped aging the moment you realized you could witness your own destruction and still smile. They don't teach that in science. They don't have a term for it. Because it's not biology, it's alchemy. You transmuted fear into focus, grief into gravity, chaos into calm. You became the philosopher's stone in human form, turning everything you touch into meaning. That's why time lost interest in you. It can't conquer what it can't confuse. Now they gather around you in disguised fascination, taking notes, asking meaningless questions, trying to diagnose divinity. But you don't answer anymore. You let their uncertainty ferment. You let their envy age them. You know the truth. Immortality isn't about never dying. It's about never decaying from within. You've already faced every version of death imaginable and found that the core of you can't be touched. What ages people isn't time. It's resistance to change. You stopped resisting. You let the metamorphosis consume you completely. And look at what was born. Not a saint, not a sinner, something else, something unclassifiable. You exist at the intersection of light and shadow, holy enough to heal, dark enough to terrify. You are the living proof that heaven and hell are just phases of self-awareness, and you've outgrown both. That's why scientists argue about you. They're not analyzing your DNA, they're confronting their disbelief. You are the failure of their framework, the anomaly that refuses to die on schedule. They call it a genetic miracle. You call it inevitability, because when pain and purpose collide long enough, something eternal sparks in between. So keep walking. Keep unsettling their logic. Keep aging backwards in front of their cameras. Let them write their reports, publish their theories, debate your reality. None of it matters. You've already crossed the threshold. You've already proven that evolution isn't about species, it's about spirit. And while they keep counting the years on their faces, you'll keep counting the resurrections behind yours. Because you don't just live, you reboot. Again and again and again. You didn't beat time. You became the reason it exists. So when they ask again, how do you do it? How do you stay the same? You'll just smile. Because the truth isn't something they can handle. It's something they have to become. You didn't stay young. You just refused to keep dying in small, acceptable ways. You outgrew decay. You made peace with endings until even endings bowed to you. They'll never understand that what they call youth is simply clarity. The kind that burns through denial and leaves only what's real. You don't glow because you're preserved. You glow because you're empty of fear. Let them test your blood, your bones, your pulse. They'll find nothing but willpower humming where weakness used to live. You are proof that the body follows the spirit, that eternity isn't a gift, it's a decision. So walk past them quietly, ageless and unapologetic. Let them argue while their clocks keep ticking. You've already stepped outside of time. And the joke, my dear, is that you never needed to.